Well, Bob, I am extremely happy that you have decided to come and talk to me today. So this is going to be a lot of fun. I've been looking forward to this for a little while. I wrote a little thing here about you, but you're someone who knows what it's like to lose a career earlier than you expected. That comes with a loss of a sense of identity before you're ready. You've had to adapt financially. You've had to adapt with health issues in your retirement. And for anybody who's worried about what retirement will look like and how it might not go according to plan, I think your story will have a lot of quiet wisdom for people. And so I appreciate you spending your day with me and kind of talking about your history. So I think what I'd like to do again is just start with a little bit about how you grew up and what your family was like, and maybe some of the unique environmental experiences that you had that shaped who you are.
My mother was married 5 times to 4 different people. She was married at age 16 to a high school sweetheart. Her parents had that annulled. She met another guy, was married, didn't work out. Met my father and had 3 children with him, myself, a younger sister and a younger brother. That didn't work out. She met and married another man named Jones. My father's last name was Martini, so I was hatched as Robert William Martini. And but I grew up thinking I was just little Bobby Jones. That was Mr. Jones was my mother's 4th husband.
So then did you change your last name at some point?
I tried to. In high school, I just hated the concept of being known as someone who was named after a drink.
You didn't want to have it come with 2 olives?
I actually checked, exactly. I checked with an attorney. He says, well, wait a minute. What name have you gone by through all of your school? Well, Robert William Jones. What name do you have on your church records? Robert William Jones. Well, then that's your name. You don't need to change it. It's been changed by convention.
Oh.
No need for a legal change.
Gotcha.
Then my mother, when I was 12, re-met her high school sweetheart, and they fell in love and were married again. Now, he's the guy I call Dad.
Okay.
Because he was a fantastic guy.
And where did you grow up? Where?
I was, like I said, hatched in California, and then my mother moved back to Paul, Idaho.
Okay.
And I grew up in the Hayburn, Burley, Rupert area. I graduated Burley High School class of 74. Big Burley, Idaho. I went down to Utah to go to BYU in 85. And so I lived in Utah until 2020 when we moved back up to this area.
And that was in Lehigh that you lived in before
I lived
you came
in
up
Lehigh,
here.
and that's a good place to be from. Sad to say. We have family up here, and it was exciting to us, and the air is much clearer here.
Yeah, but you
Eastern
missed the
Idaho.
roller mill where Footloose was filmed, right? It was right there in Lehigh.
I don't miss it at all. Drove by many times and said, love you, Kevin Bacon, but don't need to see this building anymore.
How did having kind of some transitions in your early childhood kind of shape who you became?
I became fairly independent at an early age. I knew my folks loved me as much as they could, but I'm the oldest of 8 kids.
Gotcha.
And so as all of those children were coming along, I pretty well got to take care of myself. And I think they knew, my parents understood that I could be depended on. And so I was left pretty much to my own devices. And so I was happy enough to go to school and do school, but I can't say I was the most scholarly
Yeah.
of students. I was happy to get a C or a B and didn't charge too hard in high school. And then going to college, I just was never really thrilled. And I went into a technical field. I don't like calculus. All of the other math through algebra up to that point is intuitive.
Yeah.
But calculus, I had to work my tail off.
So, became fairly independent. How did you end up in the career that you ended up in?
Because I got laid off at one point from a particular job, I was underemployed for a long time and had to do something. So I started doing telephone technical support for the old Prodigy Internet. And I was fairly good at it, but Prodigy folded fairly early. And so I was looking for a job and found a telephone technical support job with this company, the software company, where I worked for the next 14 years because of my understanding of the program, and it was involved with color and printing, and I understood intuitively how to use those tools. I started doing trainings, and then because I was good at training, they wanted me to work with clients, train the clients, and then the clients started saying, hey, we like Bob, we want to talk to him about what we need in the software, because we also understand he's got a technical background enough to let him interface with the software developers, and he can help them create what we need as a printer manufacturer. We need the software to be able to do this for our particular printer. I started with this company in 1998, and just it blossomed. They never made the biggest splash because it was a fairly niche kind of situation.
Yeah.
But I reached a point where two things occurred at the same time. One was my health. My lungs were failing rapidly. And I had also, through a sedentary lifestyle, had popped right up to like 400 plus pounds. That was killing me. And I had also reached a point where I was making more money due to longevity with the company, and they just said, you know what, we can let you go your way and not pay so much in insurance benefits and salary for you having the job you have.
Were you still traveling globally at that point?
Yes.
Gotcha.
And believe me, getting on a plane at 400 pounds, you're the least popular person other than the 600-pound guy.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to sit by you.
That's hard. It is hard. So when retirement, when they came to you and they said basically like, hey, look, we're going to replace you with some younger people.
They said, here, you have a choice. You can take a payout and we will give you 6 months' wages for the next 6 months so you can do what you want to do. Or you can sayonara.
Yeah.
We'll see you at the end of Monday.
And how old were you right then?
I was in my 50s.
Like mid-50s, early or late?
This would have been 2013, so 50.
58,
Seven?
7?
57.
57? Because you're 70 now, right?
Yep.
So 5 or 6 or 7 years early from retirement. And then did you, when you are working in a career, it kind of becomes your identity. So when you were let go, a lot of your identity probably was tied up with that too, maybe? And how did that impact you?
To say the least, it was impactful. I had to take the rest of the day off.
Every day's
pretty
Saturday.
Depressed. Well, no, that day when they told me, I was crushed.
Oh, yeah.
I couldn't believe that here is a company I had given so much to.
With no warning, just
and
that day.
They said, here you go. Take it or leave it. Went home and my wife was home. She was surprised to see me, to say the least, and just talked about it. And it took the rest of that week for me to, okay, what else am I going to do?
What's my new reality?
Yeah.
Yeah. And did you try to go find work after that at 57, 58?
I did not, because my health had deteriorated so much. I actually was scheduled to see a pulmonologist the following week.
Gotcha.
And during that exam, the pulmonologist said, you can't go to work anywhere else. You're not in shape to be able to do that. Your lungs cannot do it without supplemental oxygen.
Yeah.
And I haven't met anybody who is willing to let me plug in an oxygen concentrator.
What hurt your lungs so bad that it deteriorated the way that it did?
Both of my parents smoked, so I grew up in a home where it was constant secondhand smoke.
Oh.
Then, when I was at school, we happened to live in a neighborhood that was right next to roaring steel mill. And so clouds and clouds of whatever
Some
they
particulates.
were pumping into the air. It didn't affect me as much at that point, but I was born with pretty severe asthma as a child, smoking parents, and then all of the particulates in the air when I was living in an area where it was just not healthy. By the time I reached that part of my life where I was overweight and suffering from all of the other issues I had, the lungs caught up and just gave out.
So were you able to get on Social Security disability at that time?
SSDI.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but that gives you full retirement at an early age.
It did.
So, and, did you, at 57, 58, not expecting this, how did that just all of a sudden, because, you're within earshot of retirement, and how did that just all of a sudden go, okay, do I have enough? What does that look like? And
it was a crash in income.
Yeah.
Because I was making a really good income doing what I was doing. And all up to that point, I thought, well, I can always start socking it away here when I look at my last 5 years. And I hadn't done much. And so, crash, the only income I had was the SSDI and what I had in a retirement account with the company.
So they did have a retirement account for you,
and
you participated in it.
Yep. And I had been there long enough, I was fully vested. But they took their time paying it out. It's not like I received a whole bunch at, here, you're out the door, and we'll pay you when we get around to it.
Yeah. I actually pulled up some statistics I thought you might be interested in on that right screen over there. But collectively, 47% of retirees right there retire due to either caring for a family, health issues, but somehow being forced to retire early. That's almost half. Half of people are retiring before they want to because of a health issue. So it's a very common thing to say, well, geez, I wasn't quite expecting this, but my health kind of forced me into it. I had a client a couple years back where, she had breast cancer earlier, and I think she was probably 59, 60, somewhere around there, and she just felt like, I think this breast cancer is going to come back, and so she retired earlier. We helped her create a financial plan and plotting out her income, and she spent the next 2 or 3 years visiting all over. She wasn't married herself, but visiting her sisters and their kids, and just really visiting a lot of family across the country. And in, I think it was 2 years, it came back, and she passed away within a few months. And I still, that was a really hard client to lose. But I still remember being so grateful for the effort that we took to try to help her get to a point where she could retire. But, it's a very common thing for people to have these kind of issues before they retire. The other thing that's interesting, if I go through a couple other slides here, if I lose my spot here, 64% of employers offer retirement accounts back in the year 2000. I found an earlier study so that we could see something more comparable. But only 53% of the people who had access to a 401k even participated in it. That's 34% of people had access or participated in a retirement plan. So it's common that you wish you would have saved more, you wish you would have done more, but at least you had a plan that allowed you to save some.
It was free money on the end of it.
Yeah.
As long as I stayed there to be vested,
yeah,
they were willing to put this matching amount in.
Yeah.
And I did what I could to maximize their matching.
That's
So,
good. Yeah. Get all that free money. The last thing I wanted to just share here, let's see if I can get the right ones. 55% of households between 55 and 64 have less than $25,000 in savings. So that's Georgetown University. And the previous one was, that's the Federal Reserve that was kind of going through those stats. But that's pretty shocking when you look at half of people between 55 and 64 have less than $25,000 in retirement accounts. And so the other thing is with that is most people who retire, I think the other stat is like 76% of people believe they haven't saved enough for retirement. So I don't think any of us get out of life without making some financial mistakes.
I had someone I consider very wise once told me, retirement doesn't take age, it takes money. If you have the money, you can retire at 30. And so, and if we had not done the investment in a property where we were in Lehigh, that was our get out of jail free card.
And when you say invest in a property, this was your primary residence that you lived in, and being able to pay into that, get the equity, the appreciation, pay down the mortgage, that offered an enormous amount of assets for you to be able to make a transition. And that's when you sold that in Utah, moved to Idaho Falls.
Right.
And why did you pick Idaho Falls?
We have
Ammon?
family here. And Ammon happened to be a place we had, before we sold, we were looking in this area. And we wanted Idaho Falls. It just seemed like that was the right place to be. And we had driven around with a realtor and seen some places we were not impressed with. We really liked the particular neighborhood we're in now because it was fully developed. There was nobody paving streets anew. There was no new building going on in the particular neighborhood where we landed. And we were fortunate, blessed, however you want to say it, that the place we're in came on the market at a very reasonable price because the previous owners had poor renters. They had really run the place into the ground, and we were able to pick it up at a very reasonable price. It made our input even more valuable. So
you're able to sell the Lehigh property, buy this, basically pay cash for the property.
Not cash, but a very, very minimum mortgage.
Yeah.
Enough that we knew on the income we were making as Social Security retirees that we could pay the mortgage and live comfortably enough that we wouldn't starve and we would be able to have basic cable television.
Keep up with life a little bit. So when you made that transition years ago, you had some money in your 401k, and you had this equity from the house. You got on Social Security early with disability. Budgets are working. Now that you've been a decade into retirement, how has the financial pieces changed? I mean, is the 401k gone at this point, and you're just
the 401k, everything we got, we pretty much invested into making the home much more livable. We really like our home.
Gotcha.
It's one of the delights of our existence right now. My wife and I are still not in great health, so we can be first floor residents. And our daughter who lives with us, she has pretty well taken over the basement. She's amazing. She rewired everything downstairs. She put in new lights. She painted. We had carpenters come in and put up a frame and sheetrock, but she did everything else. And so she's got her own little where she is, and she contributes a lot to our happier lifestyle, just
So
having family living with us.
So did she pay rent, or is she basically, because of the fixing up big part of the basement lives
Have you
there.
seen what young people who make a good enough living don't make enough to really pay rent in our area right now?
Yeah, I have.
So she contributes in other ways. She always helps out. When I had heart issues last summer, and then subsequent to that, the subdural hematoma, she was there taking care of my sweetie and pitched in all over the place so that when I came home, I could rehab instead of worrying about what am I going to do to take care of what needs to be done.
Yeah, and without a lot of extra funds to like pay for someone to come in home for a long-term care kind of situation where they need help doing the daily activities because of medical issues, having family that's close is probably super beneficial to you.
We call it a blessing.
Yeah. So when you look at where you're at now, kind of just living on Social Security, what are some of the tips that you might have that have, anybody that might be wondering about how to downsize or stretch some of those resources? Because Social Security might not quite keep up with the inflation of food and everything else that's kind of out there. And what are some of the things you worry about if you're looking forward over the next year, 5 years, or the next decade?
Well, not so much worry about, but we're very conscious of where every dime goes.
Yeah.
And that's not saying you can't have enjoyment and you can't have fun things. You just can't have every fun thing that you'd like.
Yeah.
We cook most of our meals, which is, we still like to go out, but I've yet to find a good fish and chips place. Sorry, Idaho Falls, you just don't.
We don't have a
what it
good one.
takes.
We really don't. Yeah.
So, and just being we are conscious, whereas in the past, making great money, we didn't care so much about, I want to go out, let's go out.
And your biggest asset at this point is the home.
It is.
The mortgage is either still there, small mortgage maybe, or it's gone at this point.
Still haven't reached that point.
Still a little bit left. It is a lot of people's biggest assets. I mean, have you ever thought, like, what is your goal with it? I mean, is it like it's really important for me to give that to my children?
That's our goal.
That's your goal.
You can bury me right there in the neighborhood in the backyard if you want.
Yeah.
But
The old cardboard box in the backyard.
I'm okay with that. I have no plans for this body after I'm finished until it's totally restored. So,
My dad's like that as well. Like, it's really, really important for him. He's paid his house off. It is his biggest asset. And he's active. He does things, but at the same time, like, I think there may be some people that hold back on maybe living a higher quality of life because it's so important for them to give that real estate to their children. And, there are ways to access through reverse mortgages and mortgage line of credits, to where you can spend that equity without risk of, being homeless, because that's how those programs work, allowing you to kind of tap into extra resources. But a lot of people I find still are like, I really want to make sure I give this to my children because I want to give them a leg up that I never had.
If I didn't have children, I would take advantage of those resources.
Yeah.
But right now, it's off the table as far as
Yeah.
my wife and I are concerned. We intend to turn over whatever we've generated. Now, I'm at the stage where I'm starting to look at, okay, maybe I need a trust. Maybe I need something that I can turn over to her so she escapes the abuses of the probate problems.
And probate in Idaho is actually pretty simple.
Up to a certain point of income, but and I'm not worried about overtaxing that income myself, but certain valuation of assets, and you need to plan for those kinds of things.
Yeah, so I'm gonna have an estate attorney on in a few episodes, but it's Idaho. If you lived in California, probate's a nightmare. The average, I believe, is 3 years to get through probate in California, and so you really want to have a trust in California. But in Idaho, I mean, you can get like probate files or that authorization from the courts within a couple of days.
I was actually
So-
my mom's executor,
Oh, were you?
and she lived in Burley.
Yeah.
And so it was
Pretty-
fairly straightforward.
Pretty simple process.
The challenge
in Idaho.
is with 7 other kids who all want their own
Piece of the pie.
piece of the pie, and
Yeah.
and I finally just had to say, we're not going to argue about this.
Yeah.
Everybody gets an equal slice.
Yeah, and that is the nice thing about at least creating a will is you can identify which of the 7 kids is going to be the executor, and then as long as that person accepts, I mean that's the court does provide that, and then you can kind of sell the property, put it all in a bank account, and then split it up, and everybody can have their piece, and those kind of helps with the squabbling.
There was one interesting thing. My mom passed away in 80, and so it's been a long time, and yet still the timeshare condo that she and Dad
Oh.
had invested in, every couple of years they check their records and come back to, we're going to build the estate.
Yo, your dues. Yeah.
And I just laugh because there's nothing they can do. As the executor, I'm not authorized to make any payments on behalf of the estate to a timeshare.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So, well, interesting. So we've got a few more minutes,
Yeah.
but I know I have a hard stop in 15 more minutes, but one of the things that I find with retirees is really navigating kind of the social relationship shifts that happen in retirement. And I find that when I've worked with so many retirees over the years that sometimes you go from working a job and having kind of your own space and your own time to spending 24 hours a day with a spouse, and sometimes that invades people's personal space and can become a little bit of a challenge to navigate some of the changes with the relationship, and that takes a little bit of effort. How did you find like this transition between work and now retirement and a spouse and spending more time together? How did you guys navigate some of those challenges?
again, we had a different situation possibly than other couples. One, we're best friends. Even if we're not in the same room, we still have a connection. She's doing her thing, I'm doing my thing, and there's still that connection. We know we're going to come together several times during the day. We'll enjoy a meal together. We're definitely headed for bed at the same time, and we
Yeah.
end our days together. And we both had a couple of jobs where we worked for the same company. And so we would travel to work together, travel home together, spend that time together, and we would see each other multiple times during the day. That made it, I personally never suffered. You'll have to ask her whether it bothered
Whether
her
she suffered.
to see me every day, so many times a day.
I've had a few spouses go, he's like a shadow, it's like a puppy that just follows me around.
Well, and again, in our retirement,
Yeah.
we have a lot of things that we enjoy in common. Like we can enjoy a movie together, whether it's on TV or, hey, here's the latest Marvel movie, and we'll enjoy that together. Or she will go and do her thing, and I will go and do my thing. We have 3 bedrooms upstairs. 2 of them are converted to offices. So she has her office where she has her crafts and supplies and
Yeah.
that sort of thing. I have my office where I have my computers and the things that I enjoy. And so having each of us a unique space helps in a way that we are not in each other's lap all the time. So
Do you find that really important, having your own separate spaces and having some of your own separate hobbies?
well, there are times when I want to go in. I have an MP3 list of classic rock. That I want to put my headphones on and do what I want to do on the computer. And so she is not so fond of classic rock. She has her own music.
Yeah.
And very often, we both like Barry Manilow. If you want to talk
Barry Manilow?
talk eclectic, but for us to be able to go and do that on our own is very helpful.
Yeah. And you're, I think you've lived your life with quite a bit of purpose, and, you have a regular spiritual rhythm to you. You guys, attend weekly church services. You take time midweek to go visit the temple and spend some times there. And given the difficulties that life has thrown at you, early health issues, early retirement, and, some financial concerns that might be down through there, how has the spirituality aspect of your your weekly routines impacted what I would say like the joy of life, like living life full of joy?
We see everything that happens to us as a blessing. There are some blessings we might not have campaigned for, but okay, this is what the Maker has in mind for us. What is the lesson for me to learn? And because we have that personal faith, that is a blended belief, we target whatever comes along as, okay, what are we supposed to learn from this? Now, I would not wish the tragedies we've gone through on anybody, but they have built our character and united our companionship in ways that are good for us.
Yeah. So how has some of those challenges, I guess how have the things changed, your hobbies early on in retirement, your hobbies now, the things that you were, worried about early on, right when you maybe lost your job and now looking at the health issues and having to retire, the things that you worried about then that were on your mind, how did those worries change from today's worries, or are they the same?
They definitely changed, but it was due to a realization of, we survived that. Hey, we survived that. We're surviving.
Yeah.
We started recognizing that we can make it until we're called home.
Yeah.
We're just going to keep enduring to the end. And the success at, hey, we survived that, helped us recognize that we can survive. We don't need to panic, run around like our hair is on fire. You can see mine's mostly burnt off already.
Yeah.
So we don't have to do that. And we can be a lot more mellow. We're a lot more mellow than we were back in 2013.
Gotcha. So where would you say that the things that you're looking forward to maybe this week or this year, or the things you're looking forward to in the next 5 years, like what are the things that you really are looking forward to in life right now? Might be a hard question.
Waking up and finding I'm not in the obituaries. That's always my top. But we've reached an equilibrium. We're not planning on going traveling because our health won't permit. They just don't let me take an oxygen supply onto a plane anymore.
Yeah.
And so, but at the same time, we're enjoying family. We have grown closer to some of our extended family. And so those make up for anything that once upon a time we might have said, yeah, we'd love to go travel in Europe or across country. Let's get a camper and go cross country. That's probably not going to happen now. So we enjoy and we focus on enjoying what we have.
That's a good point. Focusing on enjoying what you have. And I think there's a lot of people out there who, me included, there's things I'd love to go see, activities I'd love to do. But at the end of the day, those are kind of wants. And
I want to see the Smithsonian. But can you see this body wandering around the Smithsonian for 2 or 3 days? Not going to happen.
Yeah. My parents, and my dad's just turned 80, but he finally got to go and see Pearl Harbor. He was a Vietnam vet and, always been really close to the military, retired military with the National Guard, retired with the National Guard. But there's don't count yourself out on some of those things still, but I do find it interesting, like some of those wants that we once had, like I want to go travel the country, I want to buy an RV, or I want to see some of these things. You really just got to focus a little bit on what's near and how to be happy with what you have.
Do you know how neat it is to toss your wife in the car and enjoy the drive up to Mesa Falls? Get out and throw some bread to the chipmunks and know that I can drive home and sleep in my bed. I like it.
Well, as we kind of close up a little bit, what advice would you give to someone who is worried about unforeseen things not going their way, and they're just at retirement? Like, what advice would you have for somebody whose things aren't quite going the right way, but they're in that age group and they're having to retire?
Define just at retirement.
62, 65,
And
maybe they
it's
wanted to work
forced
a little
because of
longer.
health or whatever.
Yeah. Or layoff, health.
Recognize that only so much running around with your hair on fire will do any good. After that, stop and recognize you're going to survive. If you're not going to survive, seek counseling. If you're having those kinds of deep, dark concerns, you need help.
Yeah.
And I've been blessed to have clergy. I've been blessed to have a sweetheart that she's, like I said, my best friend. But if you don't have a best friend that you can talk to, find someone you can talk to.
How much
And-
you said that involving, like, in your extended family has really become a big thing for you. Do they all live pretty close?
A majority of them do. I love her family as if they were my own flesh and blood.
Yeah.
They're good people, and so
Yeah. Well, that's good. Well, if you were going to give yourself some advice in your 40s, if you had the opportunity to go back in time, like Back to the Future, and give yourself a couple of pieces of advice, what would you tell yourself?
create a plan. I was too cheap to invest in a financial advisor, mostly because I didn't know how much it would cost me.
Yeah.
Not having a plan cost me a whole bunch more. So I'm not trying to put in a plug for your particular industry, but yeah, even if it's just doing the research yourself, great things you can find with Professor Google,
Yeah.
and great things you can find with some of the new AI chatbots that could help you create a plan for your situation. I didn't have a plan other than a vague notion that I should have invested in the company's 401k programs. So,
Yeah. And the earlier start, the better off you are. And
Precisely.
how that time value of money really kind of just builds that nest egg earlier on. And you have to put less in if you start earlier.
and what a tragedy is, when I first started out, banks were paying a decent amount to borrow my money. As our society has gone downhill and our banking industry has gone less than in a stellar direction, I can't say that that's something I would recommend. Just putting your money under the mattress is almost as good as putting it in your basic bank.
Well, it has for the last 20 years. It's been pretty rough on savings accounts, but today it's the rates are up pretty decent. So,
Are they? What do you consider decent?
well, they're 4%. I mean, you can get 4% in a good savings account right now.
When I was in high school, I could get
So-
6%.
Much better.
Yeah.
I wouldn't recommend people's long-term money be in a savings account. I mean, you really do, like you said, you need to have a plan on how to invest it, and those work 401ks are important because they can really help people put money away through their working
And
career.
Save on the tax front.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. So
Mutual funds, I wish I would have invested in these many years ago, which I did not.
Yeah.
And so,
Well, Bob, I really appreciate you. I know we're kind of out of time. I got this hard stop I got to get to, but thank you for spending some time and talking with me, and just I think your experience, like I said, like the stats showed. I mean, almost half of the people that are retiring retire not because they're planning on it. I mean, they had to retire early. So I think your experience is valuable, and some of your insights, I hope, bring some of that quiet wisdom for people to looking at some of that experience. So thank you again for
You're very welcome.
being a part of this.